Welcome to the Rabbit Hole. We are in episode 95. And Carl, I have a question for you.
Go on, I'm ready.
Have you heard or read Jules Verne, The Voyage to the Center of the Earth?
I have, as a kid, I think, maybe when, before I was 10 years old, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have. Good book.
Well, that's actually good because today we're talking about the cryptoterrestrials theory.
That theory is a bit strong word, but I'll let you. I'll allow it.
Yes, which has nothing to do, of course, with cryptocurrency. Right. Although you could say, if it's crypto,
or
maybe,
does it?
Or does it? Exactly. I don't know. But do you know anything about cryptoterrestrials, or do you want me to more or less explain?
Well,
how this came back, because it's not something new, basically.
Let me just say that I've come across it, the kind of word from time to time, and I've read the odd thing, but I've got a feeling that maybe you know a bit more than I do on this. I don't want to say subject, but maybe you can fill me in on what I've been missing in my reading.
Yes. So, well, basically, cryptoterrestrials are a species that had an evolution inside Earth for millions of years, or before us at least.
Wow.
So the thing is, this has been before, I think, a subject of books and fantasy and all kind of things. Like I mentioned earlier.
Stuff, right?
Exactly. I think a lot of theories and things are linked together in this case. Hollow Earth is one, for sure.
And is the Hollow Earth thing related to that thing I read years ago about about where there's like you get these people and they point at these satellite photos that they've got that show there's like a hole in the top of the Earth, and when people explain to them, actually that's just because of the way the satellite tracks the thing. Exactly. It leaves a thing in the top, but they won't have it, right? Exactly. They've already decided that's the entrance hole to, inner Earth. Is it related or?
Well, I think somehow relates to that, not necessarily to the satellite image, but to the fact that people think that there could be another civilization that has thrived inside Earth.
Right.
So, but things became more popular again recently because some researchers from Harvard, along with Michael Masters, which is kind of known in the UFO, UAP community,
right,
they put forward these hypotheses and started to go around TV stations and news and exposing the story or showing the story to the people.
Retreading it, maybe.
Yes. And basically, this is the theory. An intelligent being or species, concealed and stealth, lives underground, and sometimes they are walking among us and passing as humans. Again, it's a theory. They never said that it's real, but they are theorizing this.
They're just making money on it, right?
Probably. I'm not sure, honestly. Now, there's something interesting because I don't remember where I read some kind of statistic about the fact this theory in the past, before this, became again in the news, let's say, or discussed, there was like a 1% of this theory to be real. And now it seems that the numbers are up to 10% for this theory to be actually real.
They're not getting up there with Mothman, are they?
Oh. Well, I don't know. We get that Godzilla afterwards.
Right. So
This is the main story or the main line of the
Yeah.
theory. So what do you think? Do you think there's a possibility that we actually could have had, for example, during the dinosaurs' time and the famous theory of the comet creating the extinction of the dinosaurs, that some species could have gone underground and make a separate evolution from humans in the surface?
Yeah. I mean, again, I've read more than once in the past various ideas about could civilization have evolved more than once on the Earth? Now,
Yeah.
we're not talking about some fancy mole people like we are here, right? But this is actually, could there have been a previous or more than one advanced civilization on the Earth? We're talking about living on the surface, right? Regular living, as we call it, and the idea there is you kind of think, well, maybe is that maybe you can't say absolutely not. Well, because we're not scientists, we find it difficult saying absolutely not. Maybe if you're a scientist with relevant knowledge, you go, that's a load of bollocks. No way did that happen, right? But, if you then think about stuff, and I'm sure you've read stuff, and I'm pretty sure we've talked about this before, I think, about how long would it take for all traces of our current civilization to disappear?
To disappear completely, right?
If there was some cataclysm or whatever, and let us say there was a cataclysm that just killed all human life, shall we say, but it left all our achievements, shall we say, on the surface, intact cities, blah, blah, blah. I think it's reckoned, I don't know, something like 10,000 years, and most of it will have gone, collapsed, eroded, fallen down, and within, I don't know, 500,000 years, there'd be hardly any trace at all, but there'd probably be archaeological traces that would go on for a long time, because just to give you an example, which I think we have discussed before as well, we will get back to the subject. Which is like plastic, right? So basically, modern plastic, the long chain stuff, polyester, whatever polymers that we use today, right? They were invented or developed very early in the 20th century, right?
Yeah.
And basically, it is so resistant to decomposition that it's estimated that something like, so we've been manufacturing modern plastics since the early 20th century, and it's estimated that something like 98% of all plastics ever made still exist. Right?
Okay.
We just can't see them, right? And that I think it's common knowledge that it's going to be like 50,000 plus years before those plastics become unrecognizable as artificial stuff, right? So you can imagine then, obviously, that archaeological traces will go on for some time. And of course, you've then had people who are saying there are these structures and mysterious blah blahs under the sea and this kind of thing. And they cite these as evidence of maybe an earlier civilization. It's usually just bloody, it's never a bloody undersea skyscraper. It's always, a pile of rocks that seem to have square edges and blah.
Yeah.
Nobody ever seems to find, a Tesla on the ocean bed. The ancient Tesla from the previous civilization.
I know what you did there with Tesla.
Anyway, so I get in my head, I'm not a scientist. I'm an engineer. You're an engineer.
Yeah.
We kind of think, well, you can't completely discount there might have been two serial civilizations, or maybe three. We don't know, because how would you ever know? It's one of those imponderable, unprovable things, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I think my problem is when you start talking about, okay, let's say there was a humanoid civilization that existed when the old dinos were about, right? They were padding about.
Yeah.
Maybe these humans found the only way they could get through the day was to actually get out of the way of the dinosaurs, because they got very big feet and very big tails. They cause a lot of mess. Maybe it's best if we live in caves and blah, blah, blah. And then, the big meteorite comes along and wipes all the, destroys the biosphere, basically.
Yeah.
But I think my problem there would be, on the one hand, I think, well, is it possible that there were humanoids and the done? But when that bloody meteorite struck, man, it screwed everything.
Well, it changed for sure.
Well, how would they grow food, right? How would you grow food? There's no sunlight. Right? It's like a full-on nuclear winter for like 20,000 years or something.
Yeah.
So I kind of think this is like, I want to. It's like UFOs, I want to believe, but like I said to you earlier, there is more evidence supporting the existence of the tooth fairy than there is for some of these ideas. But don't let that stop you carrying on. No. You carry on.
Yes, because actually there's other theories that are somehow linked to the same hypothesis. Because at some point, yes, T. Let me see. I don't remember. I think it was 1999 or something like that.
Right.
There was a very famous supposed interview. It's called the Lacerta Files. So theoretically, somebody was able to interview. I don't remember right now the whole story out in my head, but somebody interview. I don't remember was from Denmark or Sweden somewhere.
Oh no, that Von Daniken bloke, surely.
No. Well, no. It's the thing is that this person interviewed reptilian being that is actually claiming that Earth is basically their planet. They have lived underground for
pretty crowded
thousands of years.
There.
Yeah. Right. And basically, or millions of years, and that basically they have been somehow like witnessing or seeing our evolution, since we have been actually alien engineered by other species. But this has been their planet, basically, and we were just put over it somehow by this.
Are we a food source?
Yes. I have here the file with the resume. So what this...
hang on. So this guy interviewed an actual lizard?
Yes. A woman or a female.
But with a human suit on, is that?
Well, they claim they have some technology to make our brain see things in the way they would like.
Have you ever seen that film?
Oh, the one with the
glasses, right?
The glasses, yes.
They Live. I love that film.
That's a cool one, yes. So basically what this alien Lacerta says is that your race was genetically engineered by aliens and we're just the more or less passive visitors of this accelerated evolution process. So this is more or less what they said, and at some point asks, what's your name? And she said, you cannot pronounce my name, so I'm going to be Lacerta. And ask her age, and she says something like, let me see, I have the number here. 57,653 cycles old, which in human scale, it's 28 years old.
28.
Yeah.
Recently, they have a lot of birthdays in that race.
Exactly. So this is another theory that somehow shows the same idea, that there's already another civilization that it's underground. Yeah. And like this, I think there are many others, and we have seen many other fantasy or fiction books written in the past with a very similar thread and storyline.
Kind of idea.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, we've managed to. I was amazed we were able to talk about this for as long as we have, but I think it. Maybe we should try and wrap things up, but
yeah,
I think it. The thought I had was one I expressed to you before we started recording, which is that there's all these different. I don't want to say theories, ideas. There's all these different ideas that are obviously not mainstream, obviously, but are believed by an increasing number of people, by all accounts, from people being surveyed around the world. But they all seem to be, it's almost like they have a common base, like a common base idea, not they're all based on a single thing, but they all seem to be coming from the same place in people's heads in terms of what they're trying to explain away. You know, it's like, I hate to say it, but I would apply Occam's razor in this kind of situation, and that, you know, given that, would you believe there's a secret hidden race on the earth that has managed to remain hidden for potentially, I presume, hundreds of thousands of years or something, and they're more advanced than we are, because they've got these fantastic vehicles that don't make any sound and fly around the place and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Or is it there's just us, and, you know, we're just screwed. We're just screwed up as a race, and we just can't believe that what we're doing is our own doing, and somebody else must be interfering, because left to our own devices, we'd be way more sensible than the evidence suggests we are, right? I don't know.
I think it still remains just as a hypothesis, as a story, or as an idea. I think it's really hard to prove anything, because
like religion, really, right?
Kind of, because if you would like to actually try to see if there's a hollow earth, you might find out that you will be drilling forever and never reaching really something. And maybe you will find challenges of, you know,
what
reaching.
About the hole at the top?
Up. They have to jump from the satellite to it.
I'm sure there's steps down around the outside.
Yes.
Anyway.
Yeah. So let us know what you think about the crypto theory. Do you agree? Do you think it's possible that we have a civilization living underground?
A parallel civilization.
Parallel civilization. Yes, that's a good way to put it. Yeah. And
if there are any willing members of that civilization, we'd love to talk to them. Would we not?
Yeah, definitely. That's for
We're
sure.
nothing if not open to a good conversation.
Yep, totally. All right, so that's it for this episode. Thank you, Carl.
Thanks, Rafa. It's been fun.
Yes.
I'll say goodbye from merry England.
All right. Yeah, because if you haven't noticed, we changed a bit the format now.
Yeah.
Since now we are permanently moved in different locations.
Yeah.
We're going to be recording like these future episodes of The Rabbit Hole.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll get better.
Debatable. All right.
The jury's out on that one. Anyway.
Yes. Thank you for watching us, and see you in the next episode.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.